Okay, look, it's very simple. You just have to listen. Are you listening? I like to watch Instagram Reels. Instagram Reels are funny. Somewhere along the line, cooking videos have snuck themselves into my algorithm. And all of these fucking recipes look so damn good. And I'm a lazy skeptic, so instead of just actually trying the recipe out, I just frown at my screen for a bit and decide, But I needed a good idea for a cooking video, and this seemed pretty fucking good. It's a 3-ingredient cheesy potato flatbread that looks absolutely marvelous, and I'm hungry, so I guess we're cooking it. Okay, so if you've been listening, technically speaking, you only need 3 ingredients, and that is potatoes, flour, and baking powder or soda. It'll be on the screen. So if you're on struggle mode, you can stick to that. However, if you want to enhance it, you can add some things such as mozzarella cheese, garlic, and some butter to fry the garlic in. The first step is you want to peel the potatoes completely naked, and once they all get a bit comfortable, you want to chop them up into smaller pieces. Take out a large pot and then put all the potatoes in it. And once all of the friends have made it to the party, you want to drown them in boiling water. You also need to salt your water. She didn't specify how much in the recipe, so I just went badonkers. Afterwards, you want to boil the potatoes for about 10 minutes or until like they're soft enough to smash. So while we wait for that to happen, I figured I could tell you guys a funny knock-knock joke I heard the other day. But you guys have to start the knock-knock joke. So on 3 we'll go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Who's there? The only time I've boiled potatoes and actually ate them afterwards was when I had incredibly liquid diarrhea. I don't know what it is about boiling potatoes that just screams hospital food at me, so I'm incredibly skeptical of this entire recipe. But I trusted the 50 million something people that actually watched it enough to make it and hope for the best. Whilst waiting for the potatoes to boil, I gave them a few stirs a couple of times, and I also stuck my fork in them, which if they were sentient, they definitely didn't like. I wasn't really sure how soft they had to be when I was putting the fork in them, but I wanted to leave no room for error for this recipe as I've caught multiple L's the past few videos, so I decided to just leave them in the heat until they fall apart, Post Malone style. Once the potatoes are fully cooked through, you want to mash them until they turn into mash. You maybe want to do this for around 2 to 3 minutes, really put your hips into it, and you also want to spank your pot if it's been misbehaving. And of course, if you're a greedy bastard like me, you definitely want to reach in for a little taste. And surprisingly enough, it tasted like well salted potatoes. I don't think I've ever salted anything this well in my life. Now for the hard part, the 2 other ingredients. In a large bowl, put in your mashed potatoes, and then you want to add, I think it was 460 grams of flour off the top of my head, and I also think it was around 2 teaspoons of baking soda. I honestly don't even know what baking soda does, nor do I know what baking powder does. When I thought about it whilst I was making this recipe, I figured it had something to do with like absorbing moisture or some shit, but I guess I'll fact check it and Google it and have some accurate answer show up on the screen at some point in this video. The next step is optional, but if you're a freak, you're gonna absolutely love it. On her website, she mentioned you should oil up your hands to make sure the dough doesn't stick to them, but I didn't really want any oil on my hands, so I just wore gloves first and then I oiled up the gloves. And I'll be real, this must be what doctors feel like before they give a prostate exam. I don't even know what age you should start getting prostate exams at. Should I Google this? Should I be worried about this? Anyways, once you're all gloved up and oiled up, you want to start kneading the dough until the flour, the baking powder, and the potato are all fully incorporated. Once you have a cohesive dough formed, feel free to give it a silly name, and then you want to sprinkle the table with some flour to prepare for some rolling pin activities. But before you do that, make sure you split your dough into 2 equal sizes, and then you want to use your rolling pin to form a rectangle shape with the dough. Optional ingredient number 1 is the mozzarella cheese. Once you have your dough rolled out in a rectangle, you want to spread as much cheese as possible on it, and then you want to wrap it tightly, making sure no holes are left open. Repeat the same step with the other piece of dough, and feel free to be a bit proud of what you've done. In the meantime, if you were smart enough, you should have had a pan preheating on medium to high heat. You're going to want to use some olive oil to lubricate the pan, and then drop your first dough in it. In the recipe, she specified to cook it for around 3 to 4 minutes on each side until golden brown. I accidentally cooked the first side for about 5 minutes until shit brown. Repeat the same process with the other piece of dough. This one kind of resembles a penis. And in the back, you can see that I've also been preparing some garlic and butter to brush the bread with when it's done. Once both breads have been cooked, you want to return back to your table and brush them both with your garlic butter mixture. Some parsley would have been a great addition to this, but I didn't have parsley, so I didn't use parsley. And here it is. Here's the recipe. Here's what it looks like. I'd say it looked pretty good. Here's a nice money shot with the cheese spreading as well. But to me, what really matters is the taste. Oh yeah. Yeah. I just wanna be part of your symphony. And honestly, the moment it hit my lips, I was immediately bricked. and in a good way. There's something about this cheesy potato bread that tasted incredibly nostalgic for me. I can't really put my finger on it exactly, but I was just shooting ropes in my own boxers. So with all that being said and done, if I had to rate this recipe, I would probably give it a 7 if you were just using those 3 ingredients and you didn't even use cheese. But if you actually used the cheese and the garlic butter and even used some parsley with it, this would probably be an 8. All things considered, you genuinely had to do nothing. I had to do nothing. This was the easiest recipe ever. In comparison to the effort that it took, the returns that I got on taste were kind of immaculate. My girlfriend also liked it a lot, but she said she would rather put it at around a 6.5, and she said it kind of needed something, like something was missing, and I agree. If you were to cook this, I would say do not cook it on its own, but make it as a side, or like at least make something with it. Something like tomato soup would probably go great with this, but honestly, you don't even have to make it. I just sat there and I ate my potato bread and I enjoyed it. It was heavenly. But I mean, yeah, if you want to make this, I would say it's very much worth it. You'd probably want to make the cheesy version of it. I know there's versions of it floating around without the cheese, where it's just the potato, the flour, and the baking soda, but I'd recommend going the extra step and using the cheese at least as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you had a great time, and I'm gonna go pack up my stuff and go to work.